In this episode, we're going to be talking about how we can use the power of tables to create our enemy waves. So let's get started. Hello and welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to cover a subject all about a concept, a programming technique, if you will, in Lua stroke PICO-8 that's all about tables. Now, depending on your stance, you could argue that this is the closest that... Let's just show you how this is going to work. Right? This is the closest that PICO-8 and Lua, at least in this version of it, gets to object orientation. I know that's going to upset a few people, but it does have this kind of concept of a sort of a encapsulated object that you can use and reuse over and over again to create a scenario like this, where you've got an enemy who I also have noticed doesn't have any animations. We'll look at that later. And also, listen. How about that? That's cool, right? That has a path that it follows. It's going to have health. It's going to inflict damage if it gets to the end. So all those good things that it's going to do. Okay. So we're going to talk about how we're going to do that. So let's quickly spin back to my. That was actually the latest version. So if I just load the PICO-8 Defense TO2, okay, and then bring that into play here. And have a look at it on the in the menu and how we're going to create it. So what we'll do is we'll create a new tab for it. Click on plus here and we'll just call this enemies. Okay. This enemy is going to have attributes, right? And so the way that we're going to do this is we're going to create. It's a table, kind of like an array, an associative array. Sometimes they're called dictionaries, I think, things like that, terminology like that. Let's have a think about what our one's going to do. Right? So what we'll have first of all is have a function called add enemy. All right. And then for now we won't put any parameters in, but we will very, very shortly. Just need to keep a little eye on my notes here. We will be improving this as time goes on. We're going to make it fairly generic so that we can really reuse this. For instance, it's pretty obvious now that we've got level 1, so this enemy is going to follow a path. So each level that it's on, the enemy will want to follow a different path depending on which level it's on and stuff like that. So we'll just create a table in Lua. There's a couple of ways you can do it, but what I tend to do is I just tend to put local e equals squiggle. Right, so squiggle defines the fact there's going to be a new table. Right, now you could put the data inside that table, but I kind of like doing it like that, so that you've got a little bit more power to add things below, and it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so what that's saying is, yeah, right. So we've created this table, great. Now let's just have a little think about it. So what do we want? We want to have a sprite for it, right? And let's just, for now, let's create a really simple sprite. Let's pop it there. I'll do something similar to what I did a minute ago. And let's fill it with brown, and we'll put a red dot in the middle. Right, something like that. Right, lovely. So this is sprite 48. Okay, but I think we should probably pass that in. All right. Now we don't want to put SPR because that's a command, so we'll call it ESPR, shall we? Enemy sprite. Well, I see it's ever so close, isn't it? But there we go. And then we can say enemy sprite equals ESPR. Oh, if I can spell it. Okay. What else is it going to have? It's going to have a health, right? So e.health equals, and let's put let's put it up here, shall we? Let's run these things in here, right? E health, and we'll call that here e health, and it's going to have a speed as well, isn't it? E.speed equals e speed. Yeah, so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm making sure that everything we do gets passed into this function. Oh, if I can spell that right. And finally, I think something along the lines of damage equals e damage, right? Comma e damage. So far we've got a function here that's creating this table, and it's got these values in it, like key value pairs, if you will, and that's wonderful and everything. What the hell are we supposed to do with it? Well, let me. I'll tell you what it will need as well. It'll need a starting position, won't it? E.px. Let's just put equals 0 for now, and e.py, because I don't think this should be set by the. I don't think this should be set by the function. I think, in fact, what we're going to probably want to do up here is have another array. We'll call it level paths. Okay, equals. And if you think about it, this is going to be a multi-dimensional array because it's going to have multiple paths per level. Yep, 1 sec. I'm going to stop that thing blurring around. 1 second. Right, sorry about that. I don't know if you noticed, but I was blurring in and out, and I think it's because I've been playing around with my my Logitech settings on my camera. By the way, I've got a cracking. If I can recommend a mouse, G600. For things like this, for instance, if I just press Control R now, I can assign macros like to Control R and things like that, and I've assigned one to escape, so I can just do that. I've not even touched my keys. I love it. G600. Sorry, I'm not a Logitech fanboy or anything. But yeah, so where were we? We were talking about level paths. Yeah, so we're going to have a level path, and in there we're going to have multiple levels, multiple paths. And the path, if you think about it, is it's going to go from point to point to point to point. All right, it's going to start here. It's going to go to the next. It's going to have a starting location and a next location. So let's just give it a starting location. We don't know exactly what this is going to be yet, but it'll need to be just to the left of the path, so that it starts just outside the screen. So we want to say something like -8, don't we? All right, so it's off the screen, and then let's try half of 128. So let's just say 64, and its first location is going to be, I don't know, 128,64. Right. Okay, so thinking about that through, as well as having a target, a starting location, which we can now say level paths. We'll just put 1 for now. That's going to need to be a variable, right, depending on what level we're on. But that's going to be the first value, -8. We know that because this is how we're starting. And let's just do this x, y. So you can see, and that's the second value, right? And also we've got a target x and y, haven't we? So let's just... so we'll call this tx and ty. And guess what? They're going to be 3 and 4. Right. So you need a minimum of 4 values in here, otherwise it's going to blow up. But that would make sense. You wouldn't have less values than that, would you? You would have an initial location and a target location. Magic. We've got ourselves a basic system here, a basic enemy that we can use. It doesn't do anything, and it doesn't save anywhere. And that's the other thing. This is the other thing about what we're going to do now. We're going to create an array up here called enemies. And we're just going to set it to nothing, like that. But every time, I might put that below level paths actually, just to keep all of the parameters, all of the settings. In fact, I might even put that in a separate tab because I can see that's going to get messy over time. And then what we'll do down here is we'll say add to enemies E. Okay, so now we've got an array, if you will, of enemies. Well, just the one right now, or just however many you've got. And that's not going to do anything. It doesn't. It's stored it. Wonderful. Right after you've done add enemy. In fact, let's just pop into our game state and let's just add an enemy. Add an enemy. That's quite easy. Quite hard to say, isn't it? So we'll just put in our init state here. We'll just say add enemy. And of course, I've forgotten the values. The sprite, which is, was it 48? 48, yep. So that's 48. Where are you? 48. And, oh, sorry, no, not that. Then, where are we? So let's just copy it across. So it's health. That's what we could do. We could just copy that and pop it into the game state. Here we go. Just pop it as a comment for now, just so I can delete it in a second. Okay, so then you've got health. Let's just give it a health of 50. It doesn't matter anymore. And speed and damage, right? So we'll give it a speed of 1 and a damage of 10. Okay, it's not going to do anything at the moment. It will add it to the enemies array. So let's just run this. I'm going to use my mouse. There we go, and just click on there. Click on not options, on new game. Okay, nothing's happening, but it's not breaking, so that's always good, right? That's always good. So what do we do with this? What's the point of it? Well, I can tell you what the point of it is. We're going to add some extra functions here that are going to actually update this, basically move this to the target location, as well as draw it, right? So we're going to have a couple of methods up here called update enemies. Okay, and that's going to move them towards the target. End. And function draw enemies. Okay, you'll notice I've used the word enemies, not enemies, not enemy there. I've used the plural. Okay, that's important because we're going to say for E in all enemies do. And then we'll say update enemy E. And we haven't written this yet, by the way. Okay, and the same for draw. I might even just copy that whole section there. Draw. Okay, now I hope that might make some sense. What we're saying here is for this array that we've added our enemies to, right? Each and let's update them and move them towards target, and also draw them. All right. So what we'll do in the update statement is we'll call update enemies, and in the draw statement we'll do draw enemies. So let's go and do that now. Update game. Here we go. So we'll say update enemies, and then the draw game. Maybe there. Draw enemies. I don't know quite where we should be putting. Okay. So every frame now we're going to update the enemy status and update and also draw the enemy. Okay. So if we spin back over to here, I'm using control. Control is it? Yeah, control tab to move around the tabs here. But obviously I've got it set up as a macro on my G600. Right. Yeah. So now this is going to fail. I'm pretty sure. Let's just save it. Yeah, like that, and then we'll just run it. Press X. I'm pretty sure it's going to fail straight away. It's going to see we've got a problem with draw enemy, which makes very good sense given that we haven't even written. Update enemy or draw enemy. So let's get that down here. So we'll have a new function called update enemy, and it takes a value E, which will refer to one of these instances here. You see, I'm using the word instance lightly. Please don't roast me. One of these instances here that has all of this information. All right, and then yeah, so we'll end that, and then function draw enemy. And just one thing to note is that these tables, can actually have functions built into them. So I can actually say e.update equals function. I can't exactly remember the syntax. It's something like that. So you can actually set it as a function inside its own thing. But the only thing about that is every time you add an enemy, you're adding a function inside it. So it's a little bit not particularly efficient. So it's a very cool way of doing things, and it does, I guess, follow that object orientation style. But I think, particularly if you're doing a lot of enemies and things like that, you wouldn't want to necessarily put the functions in there. There's a lot of calls to self and things going on as well. So let's not do anything with update enemy just yet, but let's do something with draw enemy, shall we? We're going to say SPR e.SPR at e.px, e.py. All right. Now, on balance, let's just to prove it's going to work, let's just set that to 8. So we're putting it. It's not moving it or anything, so we're okay there. So our draw enemy now is going to be saying, right, let's create this sprite at this at this point here, e.px, e.py. And because, like I say, because we've stored all these values, let's have a go, see what happens. It's worked, and it's drawn the sprite. It's drawn it in completely the wrong place, but it's drawn the sprite. So we need to move this bit about, right, to get it working. Okay, good. And let's do the following in the update statement. Let's just say, let's just work out how we need to get the target, the point to where it's going. Right. So we're going to say something along that. We're going to compare our current position and the target position. Right? And if it's less, if it's a negative value, we'll subtract speed. If it's a positive value, we'll add speed. Right. So let's just do this. So we'll say if e.px is less than e.targetx, right, then e.px plus equals e.speed. And I think we're going to say else if e.px is greater than e.tx, then e.px minus equals e.speed. Okay. End. And we'll do exactly the same for the one. I'm going to put them in separate things here. I'm not quite sure I need to, but we'll just do it anyway, right? Okay. And yes, I'm fully aware that this doesn't do anything yet if once it's reached the target. Yeah, and then E dot. This is the time where you miss one of the X's and you end up baffled for ages why it's not working. There we go. I think that's good. So now if we save and run that, you can see it's moving across the screen. I don't quite know. It's going to go off and then it's going to stop. We can just prove that by setting that to a lower value as well. Let's set that to 100. Have a look. And it stops. And now it stops, right? It's still trying to work out what to do with it, but it's stopping it. And I'll ask you, let's be honest, things in tower defense games, they never move that quickly, do they? So let's just set that speed to something like 0.2. That's a little bit better. It looks a little bit clunky, doesn't it? But that's okay. That's okay. Now, the next thing to say is, well, what happens when it reaches its target? All right, when it reaches that target, and it's a little bit fiddly this because we need to think about it carefully because it's possible that it could overshoot the target, right? And it might end up the same, bouncing backwards and forwards. So we just need to account for that. Apologies. Despite it being late, I'm still working. Yeah, so we need to account for that. So what we'll do in our update enemies, our update enemy script here, is do some sort of check that says, are we close? All right. So I think it's something along the lines of if E dot. Let's use an absolute. So that will remove any negative negative value or positive value. It'll set it to a positive. So E dot TX minus E dot PX minus E dot TX. All right, is less than E dot speed. Let's do that. Right, because theory, I don't think we should ever overshoot by more than the speed. And absolute E dot PY minus E dot TY, the target Y, is less than E dot speed. Then, okay, so we're saying here, if we've reached our target, then let's do the following. Let's just say, 1 second, let me just pause this. Right, I'm back. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear those noises. I just need to sort out some work. Quarter to 7. Okay, right. Where was I? Yeah. So let's do this now. For now, let's just do stop. Right, let's just do that. Let's just stop the program. Let's run it. It's going to go across, and let's tell you what. Let's save our time now and sort that speed out. Not main menu, game state. Let's just put that to 1. It makes its way across and it should stop the program. There we go, and it stops when it reaches. So we're in good shape there. But what we really want to do is say, well, okay, great, let's go to the next target. Okay. Okay, we're happy doing that? Right, so let's do that. Let's meet the target. So the way we're going to do that is go to here. Let's keep it clean. Let's set it to that exact position. So look, if it's like 0.1 away or something weird, then let's just sort that out straight away. We'll say E.px equals E.tx and E.py equals E.ty. All right, so we're going to set it to the target. We'll say, there you go, you're there now. Now what we want to do is we want to say we want to do a check. So we want to say if we need to store this, don't we? We need to store the current target value. All right, so we'll do that here somewhere. So we'll just say, right here. We'll say target index. Don't love that. Equals 3. Okay, I hope you see why, because that's where we're starting there. All right. And when we've reached that, we want to increment it by 2 because we want to go for 5 and 6. Obviously, that's not here right now, but that's what we wanted to be doing. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do that. Let's add into our levels up here. Let's just add one more value. Right? Let's add 100,32. So it's going to go up. All right. And then what we'll do down here is we'll say, this is one thing, of course, I don't particularly love about this language, is that you need to go up and down. E.target index. There we go. E.target index plus equals 2. Right. And then we'll say E dot target X equals levels 1. We're going to have to sort that out, aren't we? It is levels, isn't it? Level paths. And then E dot target index. That's it. And then we'll do the same for TY. Obviously, that'll be, well, not obviously. I will say obviously, and I do apologise. TY, and that'll be plus 1. So it's kind of like doing it in pairs. All right. So it's going to reach the target, and it's going to say, right, okay, let's set it, let's clean it up, let's make sure it's bang on where it should be. Let's increase that index by 2. So going up here, you can see it's starting at 3, so it'll now be to 5 and 6 here, because it's going to say for level 1, use 5 and that plus, which one is 6, right? So if we go back up to here, that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5 and 6 here, right? 100,32. So I'm hoping it'll go across, then it'll go up. Let's see. Hang there, it'll reach the target, and it'll go up. Now it's going to blow up. I don't know if you understand why it's going to blow up, but it's basically because it's got that dreaded index out of range issue, right? Where it's gone, hang on a minute, we've gone past the size of the table. So let's stick a check in there. And this is kind of where we would say, right, we're done. This thing's done. Right, so we'll do a check in here. We'll say now, if brackets E dot target index is greater than, I think it's hash there, and then we'll just do level paths 1. We're going to have to do that, yeah. Then stop. Else, do that. Right. So it's saying, right, if its target index is greater than the number of elements in that level paths 1, this is going to really get on my nerves in a bit, because I'm going to forget to update it somewhere. Then stop the program. Otherwise, move to the next target. Makes sense, right? Let's give it a go. Going to go there. It's going to go there, and it's stopped. It's worked beautifully well. Worked beautifully well, in fact. So what we really want to do here actually is say inflict damage. Inflict damage. Okay. Brackets E dot damage. All right. And well, I think it's damage, isn't it? Damage, yeah. So this is going to hurt the player. So we'll have a function down here, I guess. Function inflict damage. Brackets damage. And now we need to say something along the lines here, which we haven't done yet, which is player health minus equals damage, right? Minus equals damage that thing's just caused, and then if player health is less than or equal to 0, then stop, whatever, right? And for the, do you know what? This might be a little bit clumsy, but let's just add player health into the game state right now. Hang on, a little bit clumsy, but maybe here. Okay, and we can see down here I've actually put some text in here, centered text. That really is a value. That should really be player health. So let's just do that now. Hang on. I think player health. Dot quotes. I think I've got a space in. Yeah. So now let's run it. Okay, I've messed up somewhere. That's, yeah. No, let's not stop. Let's not stop. Let's just do nothing. I think you can do that, right? Okay, so I'm going to do this now. This guy's going to go up here, and I think it might just... but look at this. Look what it's doing now. How cool is that? It's not ending. It needs to destroy itself, right? And that does make sense. It can't just sit there going on forever. So what we can do there is we can inflict the damage, and finally we can say delete from enemies E. So that will go away. Hang on. So if we do this now, keep an eye on the top left on the health. It's going to go up there. It's going to hit there, and bang, 90. Right, that's wonderful. Right, now what I'm going to do is put my head. I wish I could speak. I'm supposed to be YouTubing. I'm going to put my my headset on, and we're going to make a noise. We're going to make a sound for when it hits that zone there. So let's get over to the sound effects, and let's start with. Oh, hang on. Let's just try something like that, and then shift that, isn't it? Not that one. That sounds like it, but let's slow it down a bit. That's too much. Now I'm just sort of playing around. I think that's quite good, isn't it? I might make it a little bit slower. I'll just start lowering the volume on each one. Just a little bit on each one. I'm going with that for now. That's the noise it's going to make. You might want to play around with that and see what you think and adjust it to your own tastes. But let's do that as well then. So we'll put the SFX in. SFX 0. Let's run it. It's going to go up there. Okay, and there we go. Glorious. Right, so let's quit that out and let's tidy this up. Let's get it working so it's in the right place and doing what it should do. Right, so let's just get this path worked out. So I think I might even have it on my notes here. Let me just have a quick look. Hang on. Rather than keying all this in and making you sit through it, what I think I'll probably do is get the paths correct. Let's get started. The way I would do this is I think I'd probably start with -8. Right, so it's doing it in the background. Maybe -16 even, so that it's kind of well behind. And then we can see that it wasn't 64. So let's just try 32. I just realised it's going to go down, isn't it? We've got to keep things straight, right? So that'll be, there won't be 132, will it? It'll be 18 and 32. Let's just give that a look. So that's too high by 8. You can see that there, right? So we can go 40. And then 18, 40. Okay, so with that, then it would stay at 18, but I think it might even be 32. Hang on, let's have a look. That looked too high. 18's too much, isn't it? So that would be 18. It was 16. Hope you can see what I'm doing here. There we go. So I'm going to work through the path and make it go all the way down. I'll pause it now, and then when it come back, we'll watch it go all the way through. Hang on then. Okay, so I've basically copied and pasted that. I did this previously, so there you go. You can see there's quite a few of them. So let's just run this, have a little look. Away it goes. And it's making its way around. Now I've realised that this is not actually animating, and I do love that sound. we'll actually work on getting an animated version together, shall we? In the next video. Well, I thought what I might actually do, just to show how a wave might look. This is not really how it's going to behave itself right now, but let's get it so that it spawns an enemy every second, right? So what we'll actually do, rather than in our game state here, we won't create we won't just create one at random here. Oh no. Now, I can't remember, did I create a counter in this game yet under the main menu here? I didn't. What I like to do is I like to create a counter, right? And then update it every frame. So we'll just do that here. We'll call it CF, right? Current frame equals 0. Right? And down here, we'll say, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to set gun frame to 1, because I think I've had problems with 0 before, for reasons I won't bore you with, but maybe you can work it out. So we'll now have CF plus equals 1. Right, now, so that's going to update every single frame. Now, it does actually have a limit, I think, of 32,000, I think, before it resets back to minus 32,000. But it's okay. It's going to be fine. And then what we'll do in our in here, this is the game one, isn't it? No, this is the menu. Yeah, that's fine. So this is the menu, which is completely the wrong place for it. Excuse me. We want it in this one here. So current frame plus equals 1, and then we'll just, and I know I've realised that's in the other one as well now, CF equals 1, and we'll go back to our main menu and remove the CF there. Sorry about that. Right, and what we can do now in our game state, in our update enemies, we can just also say if CF, let's say %30, so that's every second because it does 30 frames a second. So if the remainder of that division is 0, then, now did I actually delete that thing up the, I did, didn't I? What an idiot. So let's do that again. So we'll add enemy, and let's just copy the not there, sorry, enemies. Let's just copy the function here. We don't need to copy everything, just that bit. Okay, add enemy, just put that there. So it's sprite, which remember is 48. The health doesn't really matter because it's not, we're not attacking it yet, but let's give it a 50 health. A speed of, let's give it a speed of 0.5. No, giving up. There we go, 0.5. And a damage of 10. Right. Okay, there. So it's going to add an enemy every 1 frame. Okay, in the update game. Remember this. So this CF is getting updated once 1 per frame in our main thing here. CF equals plus equals 1. So every time this it gets to 30 frames or a multiple of 30, it's going to create a new one. Let's have a look. See how that goes. Obviously, this is not how we want to be doing our thing. And here we go. You can see this is an army, a wave of enemies. It's never going to end. It'll never end because I haven't written any logic that do anything like that yet. But look at it. It's not doing a bad job. There we go. And if we watch the health at the top, make an awful noise. Negative. Obviously, these are the things we need to account for. A wave shouldn't just be like this. In fact, what we'll probably want to do is have another variable, another array that contains what a wave is. You know, what enemy it is. You know, we could do something along the lines of creating our enemies here, rather than have these values. Maybe what we actually need to do is have like enemy types, right? So we'll have enemy types here. And then equals, and again it'll be an array. So we'll have enemy type 1, which we don't need to say there, and it'll be we'll give it a name called a circle of death. Right, and that's going to have a health of 50, a speed of 1. Is that right? Is it health? No, sprite. Sorry, I'll have a sprite one, which is 48. A health of 50, a speed and a damage, right? Health of, a speed of 1 and a damage of 10, right? Squiggle, and then you might have something else. You might have another one and another one and another one, right? So then what we might want to do, is then just say down here, rather than say what all this is here, what we'll actually do is we'll say enemy type. And then this is just going to look. I may have overcooked it here, but then it's going to be enemy types 1 right? Types enemy type 1. All right. That's the sprite. No, it's not. That's the name, isn't it? Is the first one. So, then we'll just have to keep going through these ones, right? That's all getting set by the path, target index. Here you go. So these ones here, health, speed, and damage. So that'll be, hang on. Yeah, that'll be 3. Messed that up. 3, like that, right? 4 and 5. So you don't specify the health and whatever. we just create enemy types like that, and they can have their own individual sprites, and then we'll just say add enemy type 1, and then the wave can have different levels, and we could potentially reuse that same enemy type here. We can use the same sprite, but we could give it different parameters. We could call it Circle of Death Master or Legendary or something like that, and give it extra grunt. All right, so we're bouncing around a lot, and I hope that makes some sense. As always, I will make this available on GitHub, and I'll put a link in the thing. Let's just check if this works. So we need to go into game state here, and we're not putting these values in anymore. We're just adding an enemy type 1. This is quite good. This is a good way to code things, right? Because now you're not having to worry about what the enemy should have in its values. I don't know if it's going to work yet. Let's just give it a go. String Circle of Death. Okay, so I've made a mistake there somewhere. I don't see. I didn't put a quotes at the end. There we go. That's why. Sorry. Okay. Hopefully that works. It does. It works nicely, and they're all following the same rules. There we go. It's destroying them about each time. Glorious. I suppose the only other thing I want to do here is just for the sake of it now. Where's that level? I don't know. I think they're all in here, aren't they? So this term level here, right? So let's just make sure we keep that. So we'll just say level equals 1, or let's not put that here. But we'll put it in the game state, the init, right? And we'll say current level. Should we call it CL? Oh, I don't like long variable names, but it's at the same time it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways. And then we can down in here, right? We can just be carefully go through it. See here, and every time there's a level pass here, we say current level. All right, now we just need to do that every time. I don't think there's any on those, is there? No. That's all good. That's all good. That's all good. That's all good. There we go. We'll make sure we get the level paths. There we go. Get that one right. Current level. That's it, I think. And we're off again. And that is where we're going to leave it. We've done a really, really great job. So I hope you stuck around. I hope you enjoyed that. The power of tables in stop that noise. The power of tables in Lua stroke PICO-8 is probably the most powerful thing you'll need to learn. You can set stuff up like that, and now we've got a way that every frame now we can just update all the enemies, and that'll just work through. Something to bear in mind as well, just to tell you, that is that the waves themselves need to be set up per level. Right, so although at the moment we've got this wave that's set up there with just one wave, we'll want to go in an extra level to make sure that we've got multiple waves, multiple levels. We can talk about that next time. In fact, I think I'm going to stop it there. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope it's useful. I'd really appreciate a like. A subscribe would be amazing. A comment would be awesome, just so that I can know that this is worth doing. Until next time, folks. Goodbye.